Timelinks, Unit 2, Lesson 1, From Sea to Sea, A Varied Land. If you could soar like an eagle across the United States, you'd fly over snow-capped mountains and across sun-baked deserts. You'd spot mighty rivers and lakes that stretch farther than an eagle's eye can see. You'd see forests, hills, plains, and more. Our country is big. It's almost 3,000 miles from coast to coast. There are all sorts of landforms, the shapes that make up the Earth's surface, including mountains, hills, valleys, and flatlands or plains. There is water, too. The Atlantic Ocean is our east coast, and Pacific Ocean is on our west coast. Large cities have grown along the coast at harbors where ships can be protected. Besides the oceans, there are thousands of rivers, streams, and lakes throughout the countryside. Our country has many resources: rich farmlands, forests of tall trees, coal, and oil, and minerals such as iron, silver, copper, and gold. A mineral is a resource found in nature. In each part of our country, people have learned to use resources to supply the things that they need to live. So let's fly over the country and take a look at our water, landforms, and natural resources. So we have our tallest natural resource, which is going to be the Denali, which is also known as Mount McKinley. It's in Alaska, and it is 20,320 feet. We have Death Valley, which is in California. It is 282 feet below sea level. We have our coldest area, which is in Prospect Creek, Alaska, where it gets 80 degrees below zero. And then we have the hottest area, which is Death Valley, the same thing as our lowest, and that is in California. It gets up to 134 degrees there. We have our deepest area, and that's Crater Lake, Oregon, and it is 1,932 feet. So in the east, let's start the flight at the Atlantic coast. What will you see in the east? Use the map as you read to follow along the coast. In most places, the land along the coast is low and flat. This is the coastal plain. As you fly, you see many beaches of golden sand, but there are also places where the waves crash against the rocky shore. When settlers first came here from Europe, they settled on this coastal plain. The plains were covered with forests then, but little by little the settlers cut down the forests to make farms and to build towns. Today, most of the forests are gone, the Appalachian Mountains. As you move inland away from the coastal plain, you come to the Appalachian Mountains. These are very old mountains. Once they had high, sharp peaks. Over the years, they've been worn down by erosion. Erosion is the wearing away of the Earth's surface. Millions of years of wind, water, and ice had made the mountains round and lower. Farming is not easy here, but the mountains are rich in coal, and many people came to the mountains of Pennsylvania and West Virginia to make a living mining coal. Across the plains. West of the Appalachians, the land is flat again. This is in the interior plain. The rich soil here makes it one of the best places in the United States for farming. You look down on colorful fields like patchwork quilt of wheat, corn, soybeans, and other crops. Great lakes and long rivers. From up above, the Great Lakes look like giant puddles. This area was once covered by thick sheets of ice. When the ice melted, it formed the Great Lakes. The lakes are important routes for transportation and shipping. That's why cities such as Chicago, Cleveland, and Detroit were built along their shores. Next, you'll cross over the Mississippi River, our country's longest river. Many tributaries or smaller rivers flow into the Mississippi. People have used the Mississippi River for transportation for thousands of years. Western regions. As you travel west of the Mississippi River, the land rises. Now you're on the Great Plains. It's drier and there are fewer trees. These vast plains are good places to raise cattle or to grow wheat and corn. The plains seem endless, but then you see the Rocky Mountains. The Rockies stretch from Alaska to New Mexico. They are higher, sharper, and they're formed thousands of years after the Appalachians. From their topmost ridge, rivers and streams flow either east into the Atlantic Ocean or west into the Pacific Ocean. This dividing ridge is called the Continental Divide. Highlands and lowlands. Beyond the Rockies, there are several large plateaus. A plateau is a high, flat area that rises steeply from the land around it. The huge Great Basin covers parts of Nevada and several other states. A basin is a low landform, the opposite of a plateau. It is shaped like a bowl and it is surrounded by higher land. The Great Basin gets very little rain, so it's a desert. People who live there have learned to use their water wisely. Next, you'll come to an even more mountain ranges, the Cascades in the north and the Sierra Nevada in California. When you reach the Pacific Ocean, your journey across the United States is almost over. Alaska and Hawaii. To find Alaska, you'll fly northward along the coast through Canada until you see the snow-covered Alaska Range. Here you find the country's tallest mountains, Denali or Mount McKinley. As you near the Arctic Ocean, the land becomes low and flat again. To reach Hawaii, you must fly over the Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is a chain of islands that were formed by volcanoes on the ocean floor. Once Hawaii was an independent nation. Its last ruler was King Liliuokalani. Many people visit Hawaii to enjoy its warm weather and beautiful beaches. Many environments. Because our country is so large, the land and weather can vary from place to place. There are also many different kinds of ecosystems. An ecosystem is all of the things living and non-living in a certain area. It's like a nature neighborhood. The air, the water, and the soil in each place are all part of the ecosystem. Each member of the ecosystem depends on other members. Each has adapted in order to survive in its environment. For instance, deer and raccoons live in the rainy woodlands of the Appalachian Mountains. Lizards and jackrabbits live among the cacti in the Great Basin. People are also part of an ecosystem. As people move and settle in new places in our country, they must learn to use the plant, animal, and mineral resources they find. They learn to use different farming methods or to grow different crops. Like the animal and plants, they learn to adapt and meet their needs and their environment.